So the meeting has begun. Please.
Hello, everyone. I am Sonali Das Chaudhary, and I take this opportunity to welcome you to the live demo on solving demand planning and stock replenishment by Ms. Sheetal Yadav. She is the COO of Anamind, and she will be running you through the presentation. So over to you, Sheetal.
Thank you, Sonali. Thanks for the quick intro. Hi, everyone. Happy to see you all on the session today. I want to briefly talk about the company that I represent and also a bit about myself. So I take care of operations and sales here at Anamind. Have been part of this company for over a decade now, and have been part of various implementations across different industry verticals and geographies for that matter. Now, as part of Anamind, who we are and what do we do? So we help companies improve the supply chain planning capability, and we help companies build robust supply chain planning capability. I think there's a bit we the screen is stuck for the presentation. Sriram, if you can share it again. Yeah. Or let me know if I need to share it. I can do that as well. In case it gets stuck, I'll open it at my end.
Thanks.
Yeah. So we help companies build robust supply chain planning capability, and for that we have the solutions, systems, etc., which I'll discuss in more detail. But we have been fairly recognized by various industry analysts, including we have also been recognized by Economic Times Edge as one of the promising brand of 2023. Along with that, we have been recognized by various institutes like Elton Global, Logistic Insider, ISCM, CIO Tech Outlook for our demand planning and supply chain planning capability. As you can see on the screen, we have worked with companies across different geographies, revenue sizes, and we have core competence in planning only. Let's now look at the kind of offerings that we have to better understand our capability.
Yes.
Okay, let me share it at my end instead. Okay, 1 second. Technical challenges. Yeah, so we were just discussing about the offerings that we have. We have one of the offering as planning system where we offer softwares which help in generating accurate demand forecasts. Along with that, help you with inventory optimization, production planning, scheduling, and FP&A analysis. So everything which is focused on planning is what we covered as part of our planning system offering. The next offering is on planning consulting services, where we work very closely with our customers to improve the planning process. It could be, identifying the challenges within the planning process, improving those, mitigating those challenge risk, and as well as process consulting, where we work very closely in terms of setting up a good, robust S&OP process. Also, it could be the modeling services where we fine tune the parameters to improve the supply chain planning capability and provide team coaching in terms of how do we run a successful S&OP process or a successful planning process. So that these are some of the area that we cover as part of our consulting service. Now, as part of the planning intelligence, that's where we offer our own application to the users, where the user or the customer can upload their data. The data would then get validated on our platform, and finally, a report would get generated covering the areas of how do we manage and improve our errors, forecast error, what kind of so we have a lot of exception report in terms of different KPIs with respect to improvements in forecast accuracies, also production planning and inventory planning. So these are the areas that we cover as part of our planning intelligence platform. And these are customized reports as well as automated reports in terms of client specific requirements. You get to focus a lot of time on analyzing things rather than working on building these some of these reports. And plus these reports are also self-service based. You can ask questions and then you would get the response from your data as well. The final one is the planning workshop, where we conduct classroom sessions, over the web sessions, covering various parts of planning, including the quantitative techniques, where we have the different kinds of methods and models and algorithm, like exponential smoothing, ARIMA method, or some of these models are family of models. So which model would work the best for a particular skill set? How do we understand the different components of the data that are very important for generating an accurate forecast? So these are some of the areas that we cover as part of planning workshop. And of course, we cover the sessions on process best practices, the different KPIs that we need to monitor to improve the forecast accuracy, and also provide hands-on learning sessions. So there are there are these exercises that we conduct, which help in imbibing the concepts that we would have covered as part of our workshop. So these are the four important verticals that we have with us, and we are we let's very quickly now look at the planning system details. I'll not cover everything because today's session is focused more towards demand and supply. So we have algorithms which are AI ML based, which can help you generate accurate forecast, and it leverages your historical sales data. That's one, which is, it could be your 3 years worth of sales data, and then we can help correct the outliers, mark events with respect to promotions in case there were any promotions that had happened, identify stockout situation, correct that. So all of that get automated in the system in such a way that you focus more on collaboration. So there's a statistical forecast or the baseline forecast that would be generated from the system. And then on top of it, we can have collaboration with different stakeholders in the company to arrive at a number which makes more sense for the business. And then, of course, the regression and the what if analysis, that what if I run a promotion, then what kind of improvement in sales would I look at? What would be my impact on closing inventory if we go with this method? So all of that gets uh, processed in the system itself. Then let's look at the stock replenishment planning, where the demand forecast that we have finalized moves to the inventory planning module, where we feed in different parameters, my lead time, my MOQ, ship back quantity, or it could be the shelf life information, the in transit, the confirmed orders. All of that information, along with my current stock on hand, would go into the application, which would help us determine how much more inventory, one, we have to replenish from our mother warehouse to the depot. Also, how much more do we need to get it from my plant? And then if we feed in the bill of material, it would also give me the raw material planning plan as well. And I mean, I'm just going in a flow where all of this information is also looked at from the plant production planning side as well, where we can feed in the resource details, the production shift, the machine, the routing information, all of that to come up with a schedule as to which product, how much needs to be produced from, and it will get produced from what machine, etc. So all of that detail gets looked into, and we also look at the BI, or basically the reports, the SNOP process from end to end. For today's session, we'll be focusing more on the demand and supply part of it, but feel free to ask as many questions as you have during the session as well. I'll not get into the too much details for the next couple of slides, but I'll quickly take 2 to 3 minutes to wrap up the presentation. Planning is a service that we have where oftentimes companies have come to us saying that we want a system which can generate accurate forecast and but they may not have the resource bandwidth, or they may want the process to be run by our experts because we have the necessary expertise on the system as well as on the business as well. We know how to marry both, and hence it becomes very easy for us to offer this service where we take in the data. We become the extended arm of the customer by taking in the data, feeding it into the system, generate reports like my accuracies, etc., analyze that accuracy report, look at the exceptions, share those exceptions with the customer, and the customer would then provide us with the views as to why these changes happened, why the forecast was so high or so low versus the actuals. So it could be because of stock out, competitor activity, or it could be some other information. In those cases, it becomes very easy for us to take a call uh, and provide with the best forecast in those situations by modeling those scenarios into the application. So hence it becomes very easy to set up an OPEX model with less IT involvement, but yet gives you a very good, robust a process. And the process would not just say stay till forecast. We would also look at your inventory. We would also generate a report, exception report on what are there are major stockouts and overstockings, and how do we go about rectifying it. I'm jumping very quickly to the success stories that we have over here. So we have, as you can see, we have worked with companies across different industries and segments. So that's something that we have over here. Some of the testimonials. So what now we would do is we would move towards the presentation of Streamline, and we would want to show you how you can solve your demand planning challenges and stock replenishments effectively using a system, right? That's quite important. Sriram, would you be able to share your screen now?
Yes, Sheetal.
Perfect. Let's look at the streamline, not the presentation, Sriram. Let's look at the system directly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Let's remove the group by ABC analysis. No, let's keep the, yeah. And let it be by item. No, let it be by, not by location, but by item. Yeah. So over here, this is a demo that we have for our customers where it's a cloud-based application. Now, the application in itself is quite dynamic. So on the left-hand side is where we see all the items, and within the items we have bifurcations of my finished good. Within the finished good, I have different product categories. And Shriram, activate all the product categories so that we can look at the classification instead as well from the item category.
Yes, yes.
Below. Yeah. Yeah. So this is where the system would automatically start grouping in the data. So earlier when we opened up the finished good, we could see all the items. Now if you would open up the finished good, we would see those categories. And that's very easy Now we have, for example, consumer good, food and beverage, pharmacies. So all of these different categories are available. If I select consumer good, I can further drill down into consumer good and I can look at what are the different products. I have electronics, furniture. Similarly, in food and beverage, I would have different sets of categories and products, as well as in pharmacies. So this is how we can have, now this is a demo instance. So this is how we have products and configuration that we can do within the application and look at the data from multiple angles. So if I select, for example, electronics as a category, the data on the screen, which is the grid and the graph, would change automatically. So now it's showing the electronics data. And if you move towards the right, and if you scroll towards the right, we can see the actual sales along with the actual sales. One second, Shreya.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you remove the, or can you scroll down in the override grid? Let's showcase. So along with the statistical forecast, we can see the confidence limit, the average sales price that the system is calculating, the revenue, the on-hand days, and also then there is a projection. So there is a forecast projections as well, right? Similarly, on the graph, the gray color line represents the actual sales and the red color line indicates the forecast, which is the forecast generated by the system. Now, if I select a specific product within electronics and a specific location, for example, I have washing machine as one of the electronic product, but within washing machine top load, if I further go down, can see then that these different locations like Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Dubai. So if I select Mumbai as one of the location, I can see what are the trends and patterns here. And if I select Chennai, the patterns would be quite different as compared to Mumbai. Now, if I have selected Chennai as one of the location, I can see the gray color line. Along with the gray color line, I can also see that blue color line. Now, the blue color line is the model fitment of the data. Now, in this case, a linear trend model was selected, and I see those yellow dots on top of my graph. This is where the promotions have happened. And if I open up the promotions window from the bottom right side, I should be able to view the promotions data. So if I click on that, because we have activated the promotions option, and right next to promotion, there is in this icon. And Shriram, if you can click on that icon, it would tell me when that promotion had happened. So in the past, so for example, we've given a 30% discount promotion, but the duration is different. So in December 2022, the promotions was for only for 5 days. Then in 23 May, the promotion was for good 20 days. And then in April, it was for again, 12 days or so. And then in August, it is going to be for a different time period. So it's for 14 days. Now, because the promotion duration is varying, the impact of the same promotion on my data would also be different. And that's something that we're able to see in this data set as well, right? When we click over here, we can see that the impact of the promotion at different time period was quite different. And hence the peaks and troughs are slightly different. So this system has a lot of rules via which each of this data set is passed. And basis these rules, it would then end up selecting a particular model type. So there is this by default an automatic model that's being selected by the system, but we also have the option of selecting and changing a model. And the important factor that we have over here is something that the system would automatically figure out that out of my total data length that I have, how much of the data length is giving me a more accurate trend as per the recency. Now, this is where the system stands out and is able to pick up trends and patterns much faster as compared to other systems in place. So it uses machine learning decision-making trees to determine uh, the overall data length to generate accurate trend, and then it performs a seasonality test as well. Basis the seasonality test, it then arrives at a forecast. So if you go to the model tab, that's where we would be able to see what my level component is, what my slope component is. Now, because we've also provided the holiday calendar as to which festival is happening on what day, it is also telling us the impact of those events on my data. So, for example, New Year resulted in a certain percentage increase. President Day results in a decrease in my forecast overall sales. And similarly, if Memorial Day led to an increase by 39%, right? So it automatically is calculating all of these factors for my data set and also allows and applies it in my future forecast. So if you go back to the forecasting tab, we can see in detail the different kinds of methods available, and the methods, for example, the top-down, bottom-up approach, the ignore zero sales period. So in case if I have a class specific product, I may not want the system uh, uh, to to consider the stock out period sales because it's an important item. We do not want the system to not generate a good forecast. So we can simply say that for all A class item, the ignore zero sales should be activated in the sense it should automatically ignore the zero sales because for these set of items, it should never have any uh, low sales or zero sales. Similarly, ignore shortage days. So this is an important feature that we have in Streamline where if we feed in the closing inventory on a daily basis, system would calculate if there was a shortage, and if there was a shortage, did that result in loss of sale or not? If there was a shortage and if it resulted in loss of sale, then system will automatically adjust my future projections out. And that is very critical, something that we may have to otherwise model it. System does this automatically. So we may want to ignore it in certain scenarios where truly it may not have been a shortage. Then there are a whole bunch of other parameters like ignore trend before and then the automatic window, the outliers. I'm not getting into details of it, but then these are the options that are available with us as a user to improve the forecast and tweak the forecast further. There are options for holidays, the promotions, the seasonality factor. Now, when we're building a life cycle, we are introducing a product and we are looking at the product life cycle, we can model the patterns for products where we may not have a comparable product available. So in those cases, we can use a seasonality pattern from an existing product and we can borrow the patterns from there and then apply it here to a new product. Similarly, we have options for demand sensing where if we have the month to date sale, then it can help us predict what would be my remaining month sales. It would automatically adjust in case the month to date projections are high or low. Again, we can leverage this feature, helps us with products which have very short lead time. So then it becomes very easy for us to react and respond to the changing market situation. So that's where the demand sensing feature can be really beneficial. Please put your questions on the chat in case you have it. But what we will be covering now is more to do with collaboration in the demand planning role. Now, collaboration is quite important, and this is where we have the option to collaborate with different stakeholders in the company because forecast is not impacting just one function, which is sales, but it is also impacting the entire supply chain and, of course, the management. And hence, what we have done, we have created these custom rows or and we can label them the way we want. So right now we have, apart from the statistical and final focus, we have the management, the operations. We can also fill in the capacity details in case we want to. Then the last year number, the sales, the consensus. So all of that is something that we have in the application over here. Now, as a user, if I want to make any change, I can very easily do that by simply typing in the numbers as Sriram is making that change. So we can see that for the month of May, he changed the forecast from 2600 to 2500 for the management row. Similarly, if you are a user and if you are given access to a specific row, then you would only be able to view and edit that row. Unless and until an view or edit access is provided for other rows, you would not be able to make changes in a different role altogether. So we can, for example, if you click on custom rows, we should be able to look at it. Right now, this is where we have provided the settings that who's the viewer and who is the editor. Right now, we can see it's almost everyone is a viewer and editor at the same time. And this can be very easily changed, and only specific user can be made viewers and editors as well. And then we can have it catalog wise. So if there is a specific team of people who are managing a particular brand or a particular vertical, then they can view only that particular brand or uh, department. But otherwise, we have a good control over here in terms of the access as well. So let's go back to the demand tab. And as we could feed in the numbers, similarly, we can also add in our comments and notes as to why we are making that change from say 2600 to 2500. So we can right click on that item and just add a note there. So just like how in Excel we make those notes, similarly we can make and edit those notes here. And once we edit the note or add the note, it would automatically just how in Excel it would appear. Similarly, we should be able to see the comments here as well. And any change that we are doing now is getting recorded in our audit window as well, something that we can probably talk a little later. But this is where the overrides and the changes would automatically come into picture. Now, because the system is on cloud, any change that I make here would automatically reflect in the other person's system if they are logged in at the same time. So it is quite fast and dynamic. We do not have to share the Excel report out altogether. They can simply look at the system and get the values. However, we do have an option for mass upload of these changes as well. For example, we finalized that we want to go ahead with the management number during my SNOP meeting. So we can simply right click and say, apply this to final forecast or apply row to final forecast. So every time any change that happens in the management, that would get reflected in my final forecast. In the next run, it would happen that way. Now, moving on, we would look at how my forecast is shaping up my replenishments. And that's quite critical. For example, now in this case, we have created a hierarchy in such a way that I have Delhi acting as a mother warehouse to all these different warehouses or depots. For example, my Delhi warehouse is supplying to Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, and Dubai. Now, these locations may have a specific lead time, and that's where if you go to the inventory tab on the bottom right side, we should be able to see that what is my current on hand, what is my days of supply, and what is my lead time. Now, in this case, it says that I have 2,331 unit of stock, but we are saying that it will last only for 28 days. My lead time is 15. So I should ideally not have any stockouts, but seems like that there would be a stockout. Could be because of the expirations, or it could be something else. So Shriram, can you scroll down once? Not here on the override grid.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, just scroll towards the end. Further end, bottom. Yeah. Okay, so what we have done in this case, the reason it is showing a stockout is because we have made the ordering of an availability for the month of May and June. For the month that we are planning, we have made the ordering availability as 0. The moment we would click on that tick mark, automatically you would see the number which was previously in pink, indicating that there would have been a stockout, is now changed to green. So I have a lead time of 15 days. I have a supply of 28 days. So I'm good. I do not have any stockout issues at all. But to be able to maintain the kind of the inventory norms, I will have to order further. Now this is a transfer or a replenishment order. Let's go to the inventory tab, Shriram, where we can see all the items in one go. Yeah. So for example, we also specified the transfer regions here. But let's look at my Mumbai and Kolkata, for example, the cereal product. So if you scroll towards right, we should be able to see all products put together, what my on hand is, and how many days of stock would that be for. So I can see my on hand. I have 13,000, and I can also very easily see when that particular product is expiring. So if we look at the second product, I can see that there is certain expiration as well, and there are of different batches. So the product is going to get expired at certain days. So even though I have a 159 days of supply for this particular product, there would be a shortage because A, it is expiring. B, I have to ship out certain product to the customer, and also basis my lead time. Of course, my lead time is not so high, but if you just scroll towards, okay, so in this case, the lead time is changed to 365 days. And hence, because my lead time is higher, system is automatically showing that there would be a shortage. Shriram, just remove the lead time norms here. So you can see it has an Excel-like interface. Click enter, and automatically right now the 14,528, which was previously in pink color, now you can see it is changed to green color because I have more supplies than I have my um then I have my demand. So in this case, I'm sorted. I do not have to worry much. So for all the different items, my lead time would be different. So what the system is going to do, system is going to take in your demand at a month level and break it down to the day level. Now, based on this breakdown, system will automatically identify what and how much do I need to place an order for further. So we can see system is generating. So we are looking at base service level base safety stock. So I have defined a service level, And then basis the safety stock, system is generating how much more do I have to order. So there's a net order and then there is a final order that the system is suggesting. Now, this is one thing. Let's look at some of the stocking policies and let's go to the settings, Sriram. Yeah. Now, one is that we define what my lead time is, what my order cycle is, and what my shelf life is, for example, for certain product. But we also have something called as ABCXYZ safety stock and safety stock. Now, this is where it becomes very interesting that for my A class items, I would want to have a different way of managing my inventory. And I may want to probably keep a higher safety stock or a service level versus my B and C class item. So in this case, I have A classification basis my gross profit and B XYZ classification basis my revenue. So we can see, and the calculations are happening at what level on the top.
No.
So it is at the item level. So instead of item location, we are looking at item level. So national item level or total company-wide item level, what is my overall sales, right? Now, if I have 100 items, then what we are telling the system that 70% of those item, or basically 70% revenue contributing item would be classified as A class. Remaining 20% would be classified as B class, and at the end, C class, which is 10%. We can tweak these numbers and information, but if you go down, it helps us determine what kind of strategy should we put in place. So, for example, AX class. This is highly important item for us. So we may want to maintain a 98% service level there. We can also tweak the service level. Maybe we want to maintain a different service level. Maybe for C and Z class, instead of maintaining 98% service level, we can maintain probably just 70% service level. So if we make that change and if we select that, all the items which do not contribute to our sales or are at the top end, we can click. Can you click that, Sriram, so that we can see how we can change and tweak the. Yes. So see, this is where I have the option of making a change that I want to maintain a service level of 90%. And if you make this to 80%, for example, you can see the calculated value, how the system is calculating the value for my ABC and XYZ. So this is service level based classification for the items, which is quite important for us because that helps us manage our inventory quite well. And I can probably keep lesser amount of safety stock blocked for those items which do not contribute overall very highly to the sales. Right? Okay. Once this is done, this becomes quite important, and this is also an important factor when we are feeding in the information into my system with respect to how much more do we replenish from my mother warehouse. And also in the beginning, if you would have seen, we had something called as raw material. And that's where we have filled in the bill of material as well. And we're generating plans at the raw material level. So if we have an option in this system and you can see it is quite quick. With just a click, the same setting gets applied. The setting gets applied to all the products which are impacted by it. So in this case, we have finished good, we have new launches, and then we have the raw material. So all the raw material that go into making of the product is what we have listed down. Again, it's a demo example. But raw materials, if you go to the settings, we should be able to see the bill of material as well. Yes. So we can see to make 1 unit of a particular product, what are the different component that gets consumed? So if you can expand any one of it, Shriram, just one item, if you can expand.
Yes.
Yeah. So we can see that to make a desk, I need 4 legs and then the drawer with handle, the plywood oak, and the rack, etc. So these are the different items that go into making a desk. And that's quite important. This is where we get to see what my on hand is, what is my available max build, what's my minimum batch size, and my lead time or my it could be any information like my MOQs, etc., that we can feed in. So it becomes quite easy to manage and it becomes quite easy to uh, uh, along with manage, it becomes quite easy to see the raw material plan at the same time as the FG plan is prepared, which is quite powerful. So within an instant click, we get to see the final output from the system. Now, if we go to the inventory plan tab again, we should be able to see a whole bunch of options like what my transfer regions are. So system also has a built-in capability where it would suggest that we need to get these specific set of product from different locations. So instead of ordering it from my mother warehouse, I would get it from my warehouse, other warehouses, which are probably nearby. And we can restrict in case we do not want the system to move it from the same or from the warehouse, which could be quite far away. I may want to at least manage it from the nearby locations. So we can restrict it based on the transfer regions as well. So, and if we right click on any one of the item, maybe mother warehouse, the very first item, if we right click, we can see that the mother warehouse is not selling. So if we find the item in the demand tab, we should be able to see that because this is acting as a replenishment location, it's not a location where this actual sales is happening. It is not generating any forecast against it. But there could also be a scenario where where we have a setup where the system is selling also from these mother warehouses directly to the customer because uh, maybe the month end pressure is high and we have to move things around. So instead of routing it via these depots, we may end up sending it out from my mother warehouse. So in that case, it becomes very easy for us to manage this in the system. So system would also generate the forecast as well as manage the inventory from the lower echelons. So this is where you can see the green color line on the graph. The green color line is indicating that how much inventory do we need to maintain. And we can clearly see that the inventory range is slightly different for each of the period. That's because these products are showing seasonality because of promotion, or I shouldn't be saying it as seasonality, but then there are fluctuation in the data and these fluctuations are being managed and also seen in my inventory report as well. And we can see the fluctuation on the inventory basis, the green color line. So let's look at the inventory. Yeah. And if you right click on any one of the item and look at the explain calculation, this is where you can see the demand forecast is a one number at a month level. But this demand forecast is broken down at a day level. And we can see what the sub-period consumption is. So my per day demand consumption is roughly around 70 units. And for a 15-day period, it is, or not really 15-day period, but it is coming close to that. And the volume is 916. Right. And then there is certain write-off that is happening because there is a shelf life. The product is expiring at a certain duration. So overall, I have 13,320, 285 units of worth of inventory at the end of April. But out of this inventory, there is some portion of the inventory which is expiring on 14th of May. Now that's quite interesting because we would suddenly see a drop in my inventory level. Now with that, system is suggesting, do we need to order further or can we manage? And that's where we can also see what my product projected inventory levels are at the end of each period. And then system is calculating, do we need to generate any orders? So we can see there is no planned order over here. It is completely blank, because I do not have to generate any orders, at least for the initial couple of months, considering that I'm sitting on a very high inventory. So it would help you manage and tweak your inventory levels a lot better. So it would break down the demand, and then basis my lead time and the order frequency, it would generate my planned order. Now, if we scroll towards the right in the planned order, maybe in a future date, as we can see, it is saying that we need not generate order 1st of May, but we need to generate order starting from July 1st, because I have enough amount of inventory to last us that long. And it would only generate orders closer to the day where the inventory is going below the norms that we have defined. The norms could be basis my forward demand or basis my safety stock projections that we have calculated in terms of the service levels and the demand variability. So if we scroll down, we can see this 36,105 unit of order, because I have a lead time of 30 days. It is arriving. I'm placing it on 1st of July and it is arriving on 31st of July. And hence we would want, it would keep on changing and generating orders for the next time period, depending on, of course, what my lead times are and my order cycle is. So if my order cycle is quite frequent, then it would generate orders in smaller chunks. If my lead time is quite high, then it would generate orders which are quite where we have very high deviation. So it basically depends on multiple factor, my MOQs as well, or my ship pack quantity, as well as my lead time and my order frequency strategies that I have in place. So um, this is the transfer order where we are getting the product from my mother warehouse. Similarly, at the mother warehouse level, all the demand from the lower depots would come there, and then it would generate a order at my mother warehouse level. As to, do we need to order further at my mother warehouse from my plant, or do we need to send an order to my factory to produce, or do I purchase this product from my suppliers directly? So that information can also come in, and system would accordingly look at it. For example, let's look at Shriram, the mother warehouse. The very first item. Yeah. Just right click and go to explain calculation. So we can see that it does not have demand of its own, but there's a demand which is coming from the lower echelon, which it is splitting day wise. And we can see the day wise demand to be 388 unit. Now this demand is so much, and it is spread out because we have certain strategies in place. It is calculating how much more do we need to generate an order, and what would be my inventory levels. So if we would scroll down at the end, should be able to see what my inventory levels are. So it's trying because my forecast is kind of flat. So it is okay. I think it would generate orders from a period in future. Scroll towards the right. Yeah. So from July 8 onward, it is generating inventory projection. So prior to that, I think we have marked 2 months as non inventory months, and hence there is no supplier action that's happening over here. But from July onwards, when things normalize, that's where we can see what my projected inventory levels are and what my how much more do we need to order further. So I can see I have to order 4075 unit, and this 4075 unit, I will get it basis my lead time. So on a certain future date, it would generate. We can see when the planned order would arrive. So it is arriving on 15th of July in this case from my factory. So this is where system looks at multiple angle to balance the demand along with my replenishment, and becomes very easy for us to manage. We also have dedicated reports to track my stockouts, to track my overstocking, and let's look at some of those dashboards as well. If we go to the dashboard view, yeah, so we can look at sales revenue bifurcation. We can also look at shortage and excess bifurcation. Yeah. So we can see what my shortages are, what my excess inventory is, what my total days of supply is, and then by category, what my shortages are. And eventually, system would try to take you in a direction that the shortages would reduce further, and the overstocking would also reduce. So wherever there is a shortage, system would try and expedite. It would tell me by how much unit do we have to expedite the order by. And for overstocking, it will tell me how much do we not have to order further to be able to manage my supplies better. So that's quite important, and something that in a manual process to link my demand to, which is at a month level, to a day wise demand, and then looking at my inventory levels, and then looking at different lead times for different sets of product, that becomes quite challenging. Over here, it summarizes in such a way that I can plan my inventories not just at a bottom level, but also at a much more upper echelon level as well. Set all the echelons, it starts planning my inventory in a much better uh, way, which helps us manage my supplies better. And that's quite important. So all of these dashboards that you see over here, these are self-service dashboards which we can create to manage the supplies more effectively. Yeah. We would like to take a pause here, and Shriram, you can go to the demand tab. Yeah. And yeah, maybe just select a pharmacy product as well. Similarly, we can have a view of the pharmacies as well, something that we had not seen. New launches is something that I've not covered in the finished good. In the
Okay.
finished good. So this is where we can see the different, again, the different product types, and then we can look at, also, do you see on the graph, the green color line? So that indicates how my inventory would start. It may go slightly higher. It would correct the inventory, and then automatically it would, depending on, of course, what the inventory norms are. I think in certain cases we have made the order in such a way that the order should be once a year. and that's the reason that inventory is quite short up there. But if we select pharmacies, for example, we can see initially my inventory level is quite high, but it would start slowly bringing it down to the level that makes more sense to the business. So the green color line on the graph, that's my inventory level line, and it would slowly start bringing it down to ensure that I have optimum inventory levels at all the nodes, uh, which is very important when we are planning. All right. Um, so that's what we have for today. We wanted to showcase the application and wanted to give you a quick view of how you can manage things in just one system, one application. You can have your demand and a view of your inventory at the same time and just plan more effectively. In case you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. If you want a more detailed session basis your industry, basis your challenge, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to me directly on my email ID, which is sheetal@anamind.com. So you can do that and send me an email. We'll be happy to answer your questions. So I have one question from Andrew, which is how is the resourcing for planning as a service? Are there dedicated planners for each client, or there are planners that handle specific expertise? In demand supply chain specific category? How frequent is the review and regeneration of the forecast by ML? That's the second question. And then third is the planning tool streamlined specified by the clients, or is it the in-house tool for Anamind? So I'll start off with the very first question, which is how is the resourcing for planning as a service? Um, we do it basis. So there are in certain cases dedicated planner for each customers, of course. Sometimes there could be a shared resource as well, depending on the level of engagement that we have with the customer. Now, if the level of engagement requires us to provide a planner full-fledgedly, then we do that. Uh, the planners have expertise on the systems. That's one. And they do handle, in certain cases, they do handle both demand and supply, but sometimes it's more focused towards demand. That's where we have more of our um, uh, clientele, to answer your question. But we do have specific cases where we handle the supply, and that's taken care of by a different person as well. So again, it is determined by the level of engagement that the client expects with us, and we also identify the situation accordingly. The second is how frequent is the review and regeneration of the forecast by ML? Uh, the answer to that question is it depends on the client business. Are we looking at a weekly forecast? Are we looking at a monthly forecast? But typically it's at a month or a week level that the forecast would be regenerated. And for my demand sensing activity, that gets tweaked within the month as and when the data changes. Finally, is the planning tool specified by the clients, or is it the in-house tool for Anamind? So it's not an in-house tool of ours, but this is something that we identify after looking at the requirements. So we have multiple systems in place, Streamline being one of them. And we then, after understanding the problem statement, we suggest the best suited solution over there to the customer. So it could be streamlined, it could be something else, depending on the exact use case scenario that we have. All right, thank you so much, Andrew, for the question. In case you want to have detailed connect, as I said, you can reach out to me or my team, and we would be happy to get on a call and discuss further. Uh, And to rest of the guys as well, in case you have any further questions, feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to answer and take your questions there. Thank you so much. It was lovely having you on the call today. Thank you all. Thank you, team.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good day. See you on our next webinar soon. Bye bye.